Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's video. So one thing I'm asked to do often as a guitarist, a teacher and an arranger is to make arrangements of classics for people starting their guitar journey or somewhere along the path in a way which is not technically hugely difficult but also keeps the spirit of the original song. So I've tried to do that today with a real classic, and that classic is Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. So in this video, I'm going to start off by performing the arrangement for you, and then I'm going to break it down into sections as a tutorial. So you can find a link to the sheet music in the video description, and the music comes fully fingered and with tab as well. So first of all, here's Hallelujah. Okay, so let's break that down into sections. We're going to start with the intro, which is just a rolling arpeggio G and E minor chords, with passing notes in the bass. So in this arrangement, the E minor chord, I've chosen to keep the G in the upper voice. I kind of prefer that rather than this rather lumpy change between G and E minor. You get a kind of consecutive octave sound, which is, to my ear, I prefer with the pedal G in the upper voice. My right hand, my plucking hand, I'm thinking of you left-handers there, my plucking hand, I'm using a kind of a classical technique. So I'm using thumb, P, index, I, middle, M, and my ring finger, the annular, A. So I'll use the expression P-I-M-A. So I'm just simply playing P-I-M-A. I'm aware that folk players often like to bring the thumb down and prefer to use thumb more and then use the index middle. Whatever floats your boat, that's fine. Okay. So going into bar 5, we start the main tune, and there's a plucking hand technical thing I need to talk to you about, as well as fretting hands and musical things. Let's start with the musical thing. We need to bring out the melody. The melody in this arrangement is this. So we'll be accompanying that with this arpeggio accompaniment. So make sure you bring that tune out. Now, fretting hand, for the G chord, it is a G chord here, I'm choosing to use fingers 2 on the low G, 3 on the second string D, and then my little finger on the 3rd string B. You could do that with stronger fingers, but I'm choosing to use fingers 2, 3, 4 because I feel it helps me to pass into the next section more smoothly, but again, you may prefer using those stronger fingers. Plucking hand, a bit more complex. So I'm doing a kind of rolling pattern that goes across index, middle and annular fingers, I, M, A. And I'm doing that because I feel it gives me a lightness of sound which I like. And what I'm trying to avoid is repeating the M finger on the 2nd string. So you're going to have to use your M finger and your A finger both on the 2nd string. So I'm going to play you the quaver upbeat before bar 5. I'm using index, middle, index, M, A, I, 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 M, A. So you can hear I'm doing this I, M, A pattern. And as I said, the difficulty, if you're not used to it, is playing the same string with the M finger and the A finger. Because if you're more used to accompanying chords, you're probably more used to the idea of playing one finger per string. So we're doing more of a classical technique. So into bar 9, we continue in a similar way, nothing challenging here. Now, the musical challenge here is the fact that we need to keep that melody projected, and here the accompaniment occasionally goes into a higher range than the melody, and us guitarists have a habit of playing higher notes louder than the ones in the middle voice. So for example, if we did this, the melody is hidden, the melody is... So you want to try and do something like, to bring that melody out. Happens in the next bar as well. And here. So make sure you hear the melody in your ear and make that sing. So into bar 13. One of my favourite parts of the song, because Leonard Cohen links the lyrics to the music. It's like a kind of a game for us musicians to enjoy. So we start with this G chord, same rolling plucking hand pattern, a C chord, D, fundamentally an E minor chord. Now you've seen here I've gone to a C bar chord, okay? Now guitarists often recoil in horror when we say the word bar chord. But here, our bar chord, you know, I never thought I'd say it, but we can be a bit lazy. Why? Because we ask ourselves, what is the first finger really doing? It's pressing the G on string 1 and the C on string 5. We don't need a lot of pressure on the middle string. In fact, we don't really need any pressure on the middle strings. By popping that little finger down there, we get a C6 chord, okay? And then that 3rd fret bar A will then go up to fret 5, basically the same thing. And then what we do in bar 18 is our index finger slips up to fret 6, our 3rd finger drops down to fret 7 on string 1, that's a B, and our 2nd finger is going to play the F sharp, fret 7, string 2. And at this point, this 3rd finger is going to slide to fret 5 so a lot there. Let's talk about the lyrics. If we think of this harmonically, we play a G chord and Cohen says it goes like this. The fourth, that's G, A, B, C, that's a C chord. The fifth, G, A, B, C, D. The minor fall, we play the relative minor chord. The minor fall, the major lift. The major chord, C major, the brightest of all major chords. The baffled king, composing, and we get that B7 chord. And composing because we change key here to E minor. Okay, so we're going to look at that section again. G chord, C chord, same plucking hand pattern, E minor chord, the bar, 5th fret bar. We bring the D sharp into the bass, which is the leading note of E minor. We're essentially playing a B7 chord here in first inversion. And at this point, my B is going to slide down to this A, and we're playing an E minor chord, but with an A in the chord. It's a suspension, it's been suspended over from the B7 chord, and it resolves onto this G. Then we get a little E minor arpeggio. I didn't play it like that, I did it this way. So why do it that way? Because I want the melody note to carry on ringing. So we get ring. And I've just chosen to slide that G down to the 2nd fret E without re-striking it. I just like the sound of that. We then go into a chorus. So again, fairly straightforward. C chord. You might have noticed I played with my little finger because that way I free up my 3rd finger to get that bass note. Now guitarists have a bit of a habit. You can see this is basically a C chord. Because of that, guitarists will often put that 2nd finger down on the note E, but we're not actually playing that note. So I would really try to avoid that. Forgive me if you can hear noise, my dog is rolling around here on the floor. And a big sigh from him as well. If I put that 2nd finger down, there's a risk it might mute that 3rd string. And also, why do the work when we've already got enough things to think about already? So, bring the melody out. Similarly, this is an E minor chord, yeah, so I haven't bothered putting that 1st finger down because we're not going to play that note. Same thing, just keep going. G chord, that high G, keep that down because the tune's in the middle of the voice. Similar thing there, the tune is. Bit of plucking hand juggling to do. We have thumb and index. I'm dropping my thumb down here, middle, then A. Okay, so index, thumb, M, A. Okay, so we then have that opening sequence again. Now in my arrangement I've got a repeat, so we play it all again. I think Cohen's version has a huge number of verses. Or at least he wrote a huge number of verses, so you can play that as many times as you like, until eventually we go to a coda when you wish. In my score it's marked as a 2nd time bar. So the coda is basically the chorus, but with more space. So first of all we go, it's actually marked poco allargando, which means broaden a bit, and we go, and then touch that chord in. Tune out, tune in 3rds, that's a D major chord in 1st inversion, and then we go, and we do that little section again. And then just before bar 44, so halfway through 43, we do that an octave higher. So we're often nervous of higher notes, but there's nothing terribly difficult technically here. I'm going to play this B, fret 12 with my little finger. Now the next note's D on fret 10. I'm using my second finger. I'm doing that because that frees up my index finger to get a C on fret 10 of string 4. My little finger there is playing that top E, so I've got... Okay, now you could pop a bar down there instead, but I prefer to avoid bars if they're unnecessary, and also it might buzz, so I'm going 4, 2, then 1 and 4, and then I do this. Marked piano quietly, third finger's there, and then you kind of do a mirror image of that. Get 2 12th fret notes there, a B and a G, and then I pop a harmonic in here on fret 12 of string 6. You could actually play the 12th fret notes. Do harmonics if you wish. I think I might have done that when I performed it. Can't remember, you can check. So do that again. And then bring the index finger down to fret 7. This is a G chord in second inversion. A D chord. And then quite simply finish with this G chord. Now, just a fingering issue here at the end. I've gone finger 3 to finger 1. Why? Because I want my second finger to be free for this low G. So I've got this little ending where I just play between a G and an A, so it goes... might be looking at my hand and say, hang on, that's not a G chord. I have this thing about G chords that normally we hold down a B with finger 1, and I always slightly shy away from that sound. I find the B too heavy. It's a personal choice thing. So when I play a G chord, I tend to lift my index finger and I mute the 5th string with my second finger, so I get this. So if I strum that, we don't hear the 5th string at all. I think it's a cleaner sound. But if you want to play a regular G, it's up to you. So that's Hallelujah. So thank you so much for taking the time to study the piece. You'd do me a great favour if you were to subscribe to my channel. And also in my video description, I have a link to my wife Kirsty's channel. It's a violin teaching channel. It's called Violin Love with Kirsty. And Kirsty is publishing scores in a similar spirit with tutorials and designed for people earlier in their learning journey for their instrument, for the violin in her case. So thank you again, have a great day and see you again soon. Bye bye. What are you doing, you funny boy? Do you like Hallelujah, do you?